Perfect. All right, I'm going to get started, everybody. I just want to apologize. I know we're starting a little bit late. There was some issues with the links apparently. So again, I'm going to just keep an eye. Apologies if somebody is waiting in the waiting room, but we will get you in here, I promise, once I stop sharing. So my name is Donna. I am with Expedia Cruises, Team Friesen, we like to call ourselves. And if you can see the slide on the screen, we have 13 different centers open, 2 more soon to be opening. And I always say, who knows who's coming in next? You never know what's coming up. So we are in Thunder Bay, which was our very first center, Sault Ste. Marie, Sudbury, North Bay, Woodstock, Windsor, Burlington North, Hamilton, Ancaster, Dundas, Sarnia, Barrie, Chatham. And this year we are happy to be opening Orillia and St. Thomas. So very exciting for that. So tonight we're going to be sort of having our great cruise panel with Shipper Myth. So just a little bit about all the things we've heard about cruising or that things that you might have questions about, we're here to answer. And you know what? I would like to think I'm an expert, but tonight we have some really great experts actually here from the cruise lines. And just to give you an idea of some of the different types of cruising, we have a little bit of everybody. So we have, we're supposed to have Carnival cruises. And unfortunately, Mary Lisa, our rep, was held up, supposed to come home on Monday on a land vacation and just landed. So she will not be joining us, but luckily we have Costa Cruises with us, Holland America, AMA Waterways, and HX. So I am going to actually let them introduce themselves in a minute. A little bit about who Expedia Cruises Team Friesen is. We have been around 17 years. We have over 450 consultants from Kenora to Windsor, pretty much across Ontario at this time. Again, 15 storefronts. And a lot of people say to me, well, what does that mean? What can you do? What's the difference? I can book it myself or I can go anywhere. And with a team of 450 consultants, pretty much I work with someone who has been everywhere. I may not have personally been there, but you know what? If you want to go to Antarctica, I can pick up the phone and call Monica in Sudbury and say, she was just in Antarctica. Let's get her advice. And if somebody wants to go to Japan, I have someone on the team who has been there, Greenland, Iceland. So anywhere you want to go, we have somebody who has done it on our team. And so that gives us a little bit of extra to be able to share. So even though I'm working with you or you're working with a consultant, maybe they haven't been everywhere, but they work with someone who has. So that is sort of the game changer for booking with Expedia Cruises Team Friesen. And again, sort of all our little locations, lots of across the board. Poor look at Thunder Bay, poor Thunder Bay all by itself up there. But that was our first store. So, you know, we just think of it as our main location. So I am going to stop sharing here because I want you all to see our panel before we start. And I'm going to just call you out. So everybody sees everybody differently, I'm sure. So I see Terry is right beside me. So Terry, if you can tell us a little bit about who you are and about the cruise line you work for, and then we'll move on to Erin after.
Perfect. Thank you, Donna. And thank you, Team Friesen, for having me here. And thank you for all of you for being here with us. My name is Terry Rakunik. I'm actually part of the AMA Waterways family right next door in Manitoba. But I do assist all of the Team Friesen advisors. And I'm here to help them as well as help you with any of your needs on the rivers. So AMA Waterways is a river cruise line owned and operated for 22 years by the same 2 families who started it. They're very involved. AMA actually means love in Latin. And so it is really all about love when it comes to AMA Waterways. Most of our ships, of course, are in Europe on the rivers, but we do have some exotic locations like Egypt on the Nile and the Mekong River, and Vietnam and Cambodia, the Chobe River in Africa, and we're just going to be starting in Colombia on the Magdalena River. Thank you.
That is amazing. Just all those places I want to go to. Geez, never stops. All right, Erin, I see you next. So we're going to throw you up there if you want to tell us a little bit about you and Holland America.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining. So yeah, my name is Aaron Crawford, and I am here to represent Holland America. I live in London, Ontario, and I get to support the amazing Team Frisian. So thank you so much for the opportunity. At Holland America Line, we really believe that travel has the power to change the world. So we consider it is our highest purpose to really to make a difference through opening people's minds, building connections, and inspiring people to travel and see the world. Holland America is unique in the fact that we've been around a little over 150 years and really is recognized as a leader in the cruising industry. We can provide that classic cruise experience on our fleet of 11 ships. We sail to all 7 continents, and we include all the amazing destinations that hopefully you're looking for. So I'm really excited to be able to answer some of your questions today and inspire you to book your own cruise.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, Ian, how about we skip over to you? Ian has like, look at Ian's background. I made him send me that picture because I love it so much.
Yeah, yeah, hi everybody. My name is Ian Kivel. I work with HX Expeditions. And in case you don't know, expedition cruising is its own category. There's ocean, there's river, and there's expedition, and they're all wonderful in different ways. And so expedition cruising will bring you to very far-flung places on this planet. What we're mostly known for is polar sailings. So our most popular destination by passenger count is actually Antarctica. And then second place is not polar at all, but it is one of our other specialties, which is Galapagos. So we have number one, Antarctica, number two, Galapagos, and number three is everything up north in the Arctic. So Alaska, Northwest Passage, Greenland, Iceland, Svalbard. So expedition cruising taking you pretty far off the beaten path. And thank you for having me here. It's really nice to be here tonight.
Thank you, Ian. All right, so Costa Cruises, LaDonna, I see you unmute, so I'm going to pass it off to LaDonna. She's going to take it for us.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you guys for being here. I know that there's a lot going on up there in Canada right now. So I appreciate both Team Friesen for having us and for all of you guys also attending the event tonight. My name is LaDonna Allen. I am the head of sales for Costa Cruises. And along with me, I have Priscilla Reyes, who manages the Expedia account for Costa. And if you're not familiar with Costa, we are part of Carnival Corporation, but we are the Italian sister within Carnival Corporation. So we're kind of the sassy sister in the corporation, and you'll definitely find that whenever you travel on board a Costa ship. We have a very wide deployment, mostly from Canada. What we see coming in is Caribbean. We have a unique deployment in the Caribbean because those ships do leave out of either Martinique or out of the Dominican Republic. And we just announced a brand new gateway for us, a brand new embarkation port in Santo Domingo. So we've got lots of opportunities in the Caribbean that go down deep into the Caribbean. And of course, the Mediterranean is our home. Being an Italian cruise line, we've been around for 75 years, and we have a very intensive deployment in the Mediterranean, and we are in the Mediterranean year-round as well.
Beautiful. Thank you. And you know what? And not too long ago, I was in the Caribbean, and as I was saying earlier today when I talked to you, I looked out my window and there was Costa, and I thought, oh darn, I should have like looked and been able to get on a ship. I've never been on Costa, so it's something I'm really looking forward to doing in the future. So thank you. So everybody here tonight, we had a lot of RSVPs, and with those had a lot of different questions. So the questions that came back, I kind of made a bunch of questions. If you are out there, we do have a chat. Please feel free as we go to ask your questions in the chat, because we can go back after the fact. This is for the consumer tonight to find out any questions they have. So I'm going to ask some of the questions that I combined from everybody who sent stuff in. So number one, and this is a myth. I've been in the industry over 15 years now, been cruising for 28 years. And myself, even talking to family and friends, these are things I have heard multiple times. So the number one myth I would have to say, and it may not be the number one, but something that always comes up across the board, and I bet you each one of you have heard this for different reasons, is all about age, right? oh, you can't be on that. That's for seniors only. Or, oh, there's nothing to do. Oh, my children will be bored. Oh my gosh, my children will fall overboard. Please, come on. Like it's up to here, the gates. But these are all these myths with ages. So I don't know, LaDonna, you're right on the screen. So how about if we start with you? So tell me a little bit about the average age on the ships. And would you say there's an age that you could say, oh no, that's not for cruising?
Yeah, for us, we really cross all of the demographics. We've got a lot of multi-gen on board. We have a great kids program. And just like with any of the other cruise lines, the longer the voyage, a little bit older those voyages are going to skew. What I would say after being in this industry for a lot of years, I'm not going to tell you how many, but it's a lot. And I would say that there is a cruise line for you at various different stages of your life. Like if I'm traveling with my grandkids, I may want to go on Carnival. If I'm going on a river, I adore AMA Waterways. If I'm going on a voyage with my husband, I would love to go on HOW. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities. And one of the things that sometimes customers kind of want to pigeonhole and say, oh, I'm only a Holland America customer, but there may be an opportunity whenever you're going to the Galapagos that you may want to go with HX. So I think that one of the things is that we need to remember that at the different stages of our lives, there may be a perfect cruise line that fits with us in those various different stages of life.
I agree. People ask me, that is something I hear almost every day when I'm in the stores. What's your favorite? And I'm like, there's no such thing. If I'm taking my grandkids, it's not what I want to do with my husband. If I'm in Europe, it's a total different, just well spoken. Thank you so much, LaDonna. Terry, you, I know, have heard this especially. So you take it away and tell us all about what you've heard about river cruising.
Yes, I think LaDonna really said it very well, that there's always a different time in your life where something will work and be best for you. But with river cruising, we definitely hear overall that it's an older crowd and only with seniors. And that is just not the case with AMA Waterways. We've done lots of things to try to make sure that, our average age has actually gone down to about 55. So we've done that because of the owners. Like I say, they pay a lot of attention to what we're doing. So the owner, Christine, will read all of the surveys that people might fill out after the itineraries. And she's discovered that there were definitely people on board who wanted to do more activities. So we have excursions that are a little more gentle pace. We have regular excursions, but we also have active hiking and biking options on all of our excursions. So we really have seen with the introduction of our wellness hosts, so they come on board, they're with you all through the itinerary, and they will do stretches on board before your excursions, but they'll do yoga, they will do core workouts. Sometimes I hear they do champagne yoga. So there's lots of activity. So we really have seen that age demographic come down, but we also do invite families. We do accept at age 4 for our European cruises, but I will say that we don't have many at that age. I've been on a number of river cruises, and typically I might see some university students or high school graduates on with their parents or their grandparents, as well as multi-generational. So we do see that. There's no children's programs with the river cruise with AMA Waterways. And but there is definitely so much culture out there for them. And when we have younger children on board, we really see that they're very well traveled.
Thank you so much. And I have to say, being in this business for a while, even in my 30s, there was no way that I was going to get on a bike from one place to another. So maybe river cruise, you know what I mean? Age is all in your mind, because even at 30, I wouldn't have did that. I was just, no. So Ian, why don't you tell us a little bit? Because I know you also brought this up to me about age. So you have heard some myths as well. So you take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of the time when people hear the term expedition cruise, they get a little concerned about that word expedition. Is it going to be too physical for me? Is it going to be demanding on my body or my energy? It's really low impact. It's not as extreme as sometimes people might think. Broadly speaking, our average age is about 55 to 75. But we do get lots of older than that. We get lots of younger kids on board. There are minimum ages for safety reasons in some of the areas we go to. So Antarctica, you need to be 6, or excuse me, 5. Galapagos, you need to be 6. But the ones that I've been on, there's been a pretty healthy spread. That's why I say it's such a broad average age category, because you do have 20s and newlyweds and all that. And then you have people who've been looking forward to this, and it's their retirement gift to themselves and so on. So really, I say if you're concerned about the word expedition because you think it sounds like you're gonna be doing a lot of work, if you can walk a dog once a day, you can do an expedition cruise, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I mean, and they look amazing, and they're just, you see them everywhere now, right? So, japers. Aaron, back to you. So I know you've had some, I'm sure you've heard different things throughout the years, especially about age and different things. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I do want to revisit the champagne yoga on Amma. I'm very interested in that. So,
I've
Terry,
done
you and I'll
it.
chat.
You should definitely do it. I've done it on board.
Yeah, it sounds great. And I think like what you heard from LaDonna and Costa, there is a cruise line for everyone at every age and every stage in their life. And this is why it's so incredibly important to use a travel advisor that has experience in the cruise industry. And Expedia is a great example of that. There is so many options, even within one cruise line, each ship has a lot of different things that it offers. So it is so important that you work with your travel advisor to really make sure that you're on the right cruise at the right time. Holland America specifically, we definitely have that legacy of being for that older crowd. We hear it all the time. There's walkers and oxygen tanks as far as the eye can see. And that has been the case for a long time because, like I said earlier, we're over 150 years old. However, it really has changed. The demographic has moved a lot. Our average age right now is around 55, and our passengers are falling, somewhere between their early 40s and kind of late 60s. However, we do have an amazing youth program on board. Our kids club can offer tons of entertainment for your kids or teens, anywhere from 3 to 17, fully supervised, of course. And then we can offer fun activities like sports and video games, scavenger hunts, etc. So Holland America definitely has been changing a lot as the world's been changing and as the demographics that have coming to cruise have changed. So there is going to definitely be something for everyone.
Thank you, Aaron. And I mean, just with the new, what is it, the whole new avenue on the newer ships, when I was on Koningsdam, that was amazing. I was like, oh, this is great. Who's talking about older people? I don't get it.
Exactly.
So no, it was amazing. Thank you. So the number 2 question, and I probably have to say this is probably tied with number 1 for things that we hear the most, is all about, I'm going to get seasick. And we kind of have a joke. It's not a joke in Sudbury. It's in Sudbury. And it was funny because somebody in the industry, and I tried really hard to think who told me this, but I cannot remember. And in Sudbury, we're very close to Manitoulin Island. And everybody says to me, I can't take a cruise. I got sick on the Chichimon, which is, Lake Huron. Anyways, so one of the, they said to me that actually has been told to them in Toronto. I thought, wow, Chichimon is well known. I didn't know that. So we all know there's a very big difference between a ferry and a cruise ship, and even a river cruise and an expedition ship. So if you can kind of tell me, and Aaron, you're up there, so I'm going to let you start this time. If you can kind of tell me, is there really a concern for seasickness? If there is there things that people can do while on the ship? What is available?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm glad that you called out the difference between a traditional passenger boat and a ferry versus a cruise ship. Most, if not all, modern cruise ships nowadays will have stabilizers as part of their safety equipment. It's almost standard now. And these are intended to counterbalance and really the waves and really keep the vessel from rolling side to side. So you can rest assured that every step has been taken to ensure that this is as smooth as possible. Of course, we can't control the weather. Things happen. I can say in I'm going to say the 100 cruises that I've already been on in my lifetime, there was only once that I recall it being really an issue, and that was we were in a Hurricane Irma. So it wouldn't be a surprise that it was rough water. If you're new to cruise and this is a concern for you, I would encourage you to look at Alaska's Inside Passage as a really great option. The reason that is because the ships often go slower through the Inside Passage to protect marine life. You can often see land on both sides, which will just make you a little bit more comfortable. And there's going to be lots of port days, which will get you the opportunity to get off the ship. However, of course, little tips like staying hydrated, avoiding looking at the horizon, fresh air, are always a great kind of option. And then if this is something that you're really concerned about, of course, always speak to a doctor before sailing to look at exactly what might be needed for you specifically.
Perfect, thank you. And Terry, you have a really different situation. So is there any issues with river cruising that I don't think I've ever heard, but let us know.
Well, I'm very happy to say that there is no seasickness that you're going to encounter once you're on a river cruise. I have to say that I used to wear a patch when I would go on my ocean cruises because I always did want to be a little bit secure in that. But my first river cruise, I brought my husband, we were on a river cruise, and the windows are, of course, on the outside, but in the dining room. And we were having supper, and he looked out of the window and went, "Oh yeah, we're on a ship." So there's no movement. And as you can tell from the picture behind me, that is a picture of the Amma Waterways, one of our ships on a river. The rivers are really narrow. Most of them are narrow. Some of them are a bit wider, like the Mekong, but they're fairly narrow. We only have staterooms on the outside of the ship, so everyone has a window or a balcony. And you're able to see the land on both sides, like Aaron was saying, but there is no movement on the ship whatsoever. So I love going on my river cruises because there's no seasickness to be worried about at all.
Perfect, thank you. And it's always what we say, you know what, well, river, it's small. Ian, so Ian, you travel to some pretty far destinations. So what is it like on an expedition ship?
Yes, so I mean it's interesting because it's a very different world to most other cruising, and in a sense, because we do go very, very far north and very, very far south, as close as you can get to the poles without running into ice, really. And the thing with those areas of the world, the polar regions, is that the weather can be very unpredictable. And so, because the weather can be unpredictable, the water conditions are also a bit unpredictable. The good thing with expedition cruising is that you're not tied into a specific itinerary usually. If we're going to harbor A, plan A, and we see that on the radar, it's going to be pretty rough, we can just turn around and go down to this part of Antarctica or that part of Greenland into this cove. And I've seen it in action. They've got so many different plans lined up to avoid that kind of thing. There's a variety of ship sizes with us, so you can go anywhere from 90 passengers to 490. So those larger ships within our fleet of 5 ships are a bit more stable, but like Aaron said, all of the ships have stabilizers. There could be movement in some of those more notorious waterways like the Drake Passage or the Denmark Strait. I've experienced it myself, but there are strategies to overcome it. And to be honest, the seasickness medication they have on board is really effective. The trick is to take it before you feel sick, which is funny because if I have a headache, I didn't take Tylenol before I had that headache. So you have to take it in advance. But then after it kicks in, I saw it myself for like a 9-day sailing. Everybody was fine by day 2 because they got caught up on their medications.
Perfect, thank you. And LaDonna and Priscilla.
So for us, the ships, all of the ocean going ships do have stabilizers, as Aaron mentioned. There's also a wide variety in terms of the ocean going ships in the size of them. So Aaron's going to be a little bit more of your mid-size ships. My ships are going to be on the large ship side. They're anywhere between 3,300 and 5,500 passengers. So my ships are larger than his are. With that being said, the larger the ship, the less you're going to feel it. And also, like he said, it really depends on the itineraries that you're sailing on. In Alaska, you're not going to feel really any movement at all, and you're always going to see land on both sides. But for Costa, when you're in Europe, those itineraries are very port intensive. So even if you do get sick, you can take the medicines that they have on board. Again, you want to be very proactive with that. If it's something that you're nervous about, I would highly recommend you buy some Bonine and just take it with you and take it in advance, or get the little patches. But take it in advance. And then there's a lot of things out there that are counterintuitive that you don't necessarily think you should do, but you have to eat. You have to eat if seasickness sets in. You drink the ginger ale. All of the ships are used to this kind of stuff, so they definitely have everything on board for you. But just be proactive about it. And again, think about the things that aren't necessarily intuitive, like making sure that you eat, that you do keep something on your stomach. But look at some of those itineraries like Alaska or Europe that are going to be port intensive, that aren't going to spend a whole lot of time at sea.
No, that's wonderful. Because when we did Europe last year, we stopped every day. So you had to eat and go to bed. And you know what? Even if you felt that little bit of motion by the time you were leaving, you probably were in bed anyway. So problem solved. It's perfect. So thank you. So our next question is something, again, that's pretty, you hear it a lot in the industry. And it's that first time cruiser. They've never cruised. They're not sure they want to try it. And again, every cruise line is so different. So as an agent, it's always, we tell our team, please ask the right questions. People are happy if they're on the right ship, because there's a ship for everyone and for every occasion. So, and I'm going to start with you, LaDonna. If you can tell me, we have a first-time cruiser. Can you explain what their setting sail on Costa is going to be all alike, and what's they're going to really appreciate it about it, and what they're going to experience?
The first thing that I would say is go to the main dining room. We did a survey with another cruise line that I was with previously, and we actually asked the question. We said, yeah, not everybody's going to the main dining room. Why? Because we had a lot of first-time cruisers on board, and they didn't realize the main dining room was included. So that's my first tip right there. If you're a first-time cruiser, go to the main dining room. And for most of the cruise lines, those main dining rooms are also going to be open on sea days for lunch as well. And so that's kind of a little secret trick. Check out the main dining rooms for lunch on sea days. But for us, for first-time cruisers, what you're going to find on board is you're going to find a very immersive, authentic Italian experience. So what we're trying to do here at Costa is really provide an experience where you feel like you're in Europe, both on board the ship as well as on land. So we don't want you just opening up the balcony curtains and saying, oh my gosh, I've arrived in Malta. We want you to feel like you're in Malta the day before. So you're going to have Maltese food that is served in the dining room the day before. We want it to be a truly immersive European experience.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Erin, what would you say? If someone's never cruised and they're not sure, but they're going to get on Holland America, what can you tell them that it's going to be like?
Yeah, I love this question because I will acknowledge that cruising can be a bit mysterious and a bit overwhelming for a lot of people. And I think it's perfectly normal to be a bit unsure. So what I want to do is paint a little bit of a picture for Holland America, but absolutely for all of the lines. And I'm going to flip it a bit. I'll start by kind of addressing maybe what some of the hesitations might be. You hear all the time, oh, I don't want to be trapped on a ship. It's like a prison. It really couldn't be any further from the truth. It's a floating resort. Almost anything you can do on land will be available for you on that ship. So restaurants, entertainment venues, pools, casino, spa, I mean, you name it, it's going to be available on there. You can be as social or as private as you want on that. People often think it's going to be crowded. There's so many people. Really, Holland America, like you heard, we are that mid-size ship. And we're known really for that classic or refined cruise experience. So we're going to have lots of opportunity for you to find that kind of elegant atmosphere without it being overly stuffy, to really just kind of relax and do your own thing. Every cruise line, really, the scheduling is masterful. So things are scheduled in intervals multiple times to keep people moving around. So you're really not going to run into those big crowds like people think. Cost is another one that comes up. Cruising can be a very cost-effective way to travel because your meals and accommodation and transportation activities, most of that's all included. The really great thing now, given our current Canadian dollar rates, is you can often pay for a lot of your expenses in Canadian dollars in advance of traveling. So when you get on the cruise, it really is going to be limited additional expense out of your pocket. Now, when you think about your kind of days at sea, you can relax by the pool, you can grab a drink, you can go to the amazing dining, you can catch a show, again, the spa, you can learn things, you can take a cooking class, a lecture, wine tasting, and it really is sky's the limit. So plus, we haven't even talked about the ports of calls, right? You're going to be able to get off the ship, experience those amazing destinations, really be able to participate in the excursions to get kind of past the port and into the destinations that you're seeing. And this is a great way for you to hit multiple spots and then choose maybe the countries that are really interesting to you that you're going to want to go back to and spend a little bit more time at. So Holland America, of course, we're going to focus on providing those enriching experiences, but all of the cruise lines, whichever one you choose, really is going to just give you an opportunity to see the world in a unique way, discover new destinations that you might not have thought about, while being able to relax and enjoy time with the people you're traveling with.
Thank you. And it's a good thing Sean's not here because he would make a joke saying, "Oh, you sold Donna at wine tasting." Just loves to tease
Agreed.
me about that. So Terry, a river is something, again, like you said, a lot of people had that thought in their head about age and there's nothing to do, nightlife. So please tell us all about river cruising and how it really is great.
Well, our owner said it best when she said, oceans take you to countries, but rivers take you through them. So we love our ocean cousins here, but it is a much different experience. Our ships are quite tiny. On average in Europe, our ships are about 156 passengers. So they're very intimate. And when LaDonna talked about being immersed in the culture, that's exactly what we're doing. You've got very intimate service. You have the crew who wants to anticipate all your needs. And because you're so few people, it becomes very personal. And then with river cruising, it can be different between the river cruise companies. With Emma Waterways, we are 5-star luxury. So we do have some amenities on board. We will have a pool on board. We will have a gym on board, as well as a hairdresser and massage. All your meals are going to be included, including tapas in the afternoon and the evenings. We have a lounge and a dining room that fits more than enough guests, more than we have on board. So there's lots of room, even though we're very small at the same time. So basically, a day on the river will include all your meals, but it will also, we'll stop at all the ports. And when you're going through on the rivers, that's where everything was built originally. So that means we're actually stopping on cobblestone. We're docking where you can just walk right off the ship, right into the heart of whatever town, village, or city that we're stopping in. So you truly are immersed in the culture. And the owners really did this because they are from Europe originally, and they really do believe that travel is the best experience people can have. It really brings us all together. So we try to do things that not only immerse our guests, but we pass through the communities and we try to touch the communities we're going through as well. So on board, you're going to see, your ports, for example. Unlike Canada, your countries are very close together in Europe, for example. So you might go into 3 different countries on one day. So we will include ports, once to twice a day typically, but with Emma Waterways, we include all of your excursions. So that means when you stop at a port, we might have 2 or 3 different things you can do in that port that you can choose from, or we might take you to 3 different countries from that port. So there's a lot to do. And so our passengers are people who really want to experience life. They really want to see and feel the culture that they're in. All of our food, for example, is all fresh. So we are we have many contracts with farmers, so lots of farm to table. And so when you go through the Wakao Valley, you're going to see all the nectarines that they have. But then when you come back on board for dinner, they're going to be making your dinner. Many options are going to be with those same nectarines. So it's really an immersive experience. We don't have big places to play in casinos, but what we do in the evening is we will have an onboard entertainer always, and we will also bring on local entertainment from whatever ports we're in and stopping in those countries. So we'll bring musicians and we'll bring dancers and singers on board. So there's always something to do. And don't forget
Thank
that champagne yoga.
Right? Apparently, we're all like booking one of those just for that.
Yes.
Ian, I'm going to go to you. And I have to say, since the last couple of years, exhibition has really changed because, it was not something that was brought up very often. And now people are walking in stores saying, that's what I want to book. And so
Yes.
we really do have first timers coming in asking for it, which is most people think is crazy, but it's, because it's so unique.
Yeah.
So if we had someone thinking, I want to get on here, what can you tell them they're going to experience?
Yeah, it's funny that you say not many people have heard of it before, and I get that all the time. Oh, HX, is this a new company? And I said, well, it's 129 years old. So we've been doing expedition cruising for quite a while. But it's a great question because we get lots of first-time cruisers. And it's usually the people who they've done a bit more adventurous things in the past, like they've done uh, a safari in Africa, or they've visited Machu Picchu, or they do those sorts of more off the beaten path kind of exotic destinations. And then they come to us because they want to go to a destination that you can't really get to. Otherwise, you can't just fly into East Greenland and kind of organize your own trip. You have to go with an operator that's like us who might go there in any case. And then in terms of things to do on board, it never ends. I mean, I'm going to be jumping in a bit to the next question, I think, but there's no way you'd run out of things to do. I mean, if you did every item on the available activities sheet, you'd be busy all day, really. So you could choose to do nothing. You could just choose to do everything. And the nice thing that with our entertainment, if you will, is it's called our lecture series, our science program. So we've got my last expedition, we had 183 passengers. We had 17 expedition team members, and about 13 of them had their PhD in some kind of science related to where we were. And so they're giving you information throughout the day, and those lectures are recorded and put onto your TVs in your staterooms, so then you can catch up if you've missed one that you wanted to see. And just like Amma, we don't have a kids program specifically, but we did have very much hands-on. I should mention each of the ships has a science lab. We had very much hands-on activities that the kids got involved with, like putting their hands in water and pretending to be dolphins, and then they explained that that's how like the sonar works and the mechanism of the dolphin and everything. So I mean, if you go on one of our ships and you feel bored, you're doing it wrong. There's no way you could feel bored in one of these amazing, amazing places.
Thank you, Ian. And you did kind of get into the next question, which is people saying, well, I'm limited time in port and I might feel bored. And I know for you, it's a different, because really you're not necessarily in port. So because we kind of passed on that, maybe you could explain again, because you don't really stop in ports a lot of times. So maybe you can explain what they do instead of like not pulling up and people go shopping, Diamonds International, all that good stuff. What is it that HX, what makes it different?
Yeah, of course. So that's the draw. That's why people love it so much. It's what you do each day. And what we would be calling our ports, we take the larger cruise ship that you're on and you're sleeping on, we park it in a harbor or somewhere interesting, like close to a glacier or something. And then we send people out into smaller outboard Zodiac boats, and each of those hold maybe 10 to 12 passengers, and it's being driven by one of those expedition team members. So maybe you're driving up to a glacier, and that person who's driving the Zodiac is the glaciologist, and she's grabbing ice out of the water and like explaining it to you. It's really cool. It's very hands-on. But in terms of ports, so those are sort of sea-based activities, but But in terms of ports going on land, if you will, we call it landings. And we take those zodiacs, we bring them to land, and then people get off on land. They do a bit of a walk. Maybe they'll walk up to some ruins if you're in the north where they have ruins. Or maybe you'll go up to a lake, or you'll go to a viewpoint, and it's sort of a hike. And stationed along that path, you've got those different scientists. So stop one will be the historian who's telling you the history of the region you're in, PhD level experience. You go to the next stop, and it's the geologist, because you're looking at one of the oldest mountains in the world, and the geologist is there telling you about it. So the main attraction really are those expedition excursions, where you're doing these landings and you're exploring the continent if you're in Antarctica, or just doing a landing in any of our other destinations. And the nice thing that people find, especially going backwards now to the last question, as first-time cruisers, is that it's all-inclusive experience with us. So your meals and your drinks and your excursions and the photographer on board taking pictures, it's all included, Wi-Fi. So it's a nice, it's a lot more friendly and easy to get into cruising by trying expedition as your first one than people might think.
Oh, I agree. And recently I
Yeah.
had someone I know went on it and they were exhausted. When I laughed when I was writing this, thinking of you, thinking, oh my, well, even any cruise, because people come back from cruising exhausted because they don't relax, they choose to be busy. But I was laughing. I'm like, I had someone who by day 5 was like, I can't do it anymore. I got to take a day off. This is just 4 landings a day, and I'm swimming and
Yeah,
snorkeling. They were doing Galapagos, of course. So
yeah,
I was laughing
yeah,
when people say this, right? I'm like, oh, I don't think that's a problem.
yeah.
But so thank you very much, Ian. And LaDonna, we haven't heard from you for a bit. So people are telling us, you know what, they don't have enough time in port, or there's nothing to do. There'll be, a day at sea. I have a lot of clients who say to me, a day at sea, what am I going to do?
Well, I think it's really interesting. One of the most unique pieces about Costa that I learned whenever I came on board is that Costa has taken kind of a new twist on what we call our sea destinations. And these sea destinations are taking a new look at itinerary planning. So in the traditional days of itinerary planning, you wanted to go to these specific ports, but really we looked at the cruise as a way to get between the ports. And what Costa has done with these new sea destinations is we've also kind of reimagined itinerary planning in terms of what is it that you can only see from the unique vantage point of the sea. We're on the ocean, right? So there's been an entire program that has been created to really not only take advantage of the fact that it's a unique vantage point looking at things from the ocean, but also really giving you another opportunity to be immersed in that destination. So, for example, and there will be at least 2 to 3 of these sea destinations, even though they are very port intensive itineraries in Europe. For the most part, you're in port every day, but oftentimes you will also have a sea destination. At least 3 times or so during a Mediterranean voyage. And it's things like when you're coming into the Bay of Capri, we lay out the caprese cakes with the traditional Neapolitan coffee. So you're having your breakfast overlooking the Bay of Capri and really celebrating being in that destination, even whenever you're on board the ship as well. So there's 2 things at play here. One, either being in the destination for a very long time or even overnight, or secondarily, these sea destinations. Here you are in the evening in Mykonos having this amazing party out on deck overlooking the island of Mykonos. And so it's really kind of taking that itinerary planning to the next step. But they're definitely going to have an opportunity to be immersed in each one of the destinations, especially with Costa. These are very port intensive itineraries.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much. That is amazing. That actually, I'm just sitting here. I just ate dinner, but I'm like, oh, the coffee sounds amazing. Sailing into, I'm like, oh, I like it. Cake. Sign me up. Oh my goodness. Now I'm getting hungry again. Jeepers. So Terry, what can you say about being bored? Again, I know you kind of went over this a little bit. It was just, I should have put them together, I guess, the questions. What can you tell us about how you're not going to be bored on river cruising?
Well, I did touch on this a little bit. Part of it is all the excursions for all the ports. Because we include all of your excursions, it means that when you come into a port, let's say there's a castle on the hill. I already talked about a bit about different activity levels. So if there's a castle on the hill, we're going to have a gentle walkers where we're going to bus you up to the hill or to the castle, excuse me, and then you get to participate in that excursion. Or if you're on a regular walkers, you can walk up to the hill and up to the castle, but we'll have stops along the way with local guides. And then you can do the active where you're going to hike or bike up to the castle. So everybody gets the opportunity to do some excursions and to be involved. But outside of that, you have choices of, there's a lot of history, of course, especially in Europe, where you can go and see the towns and hear about the towns from the local guides. But we'll also take you to wine tastings or chocolate makings or beer tastings, or my daughter got to try cow's tongue in Slovakia, unbeknownst to her that it was cow's tongue, but she did. And then she came crying to me. But, and she's 27, so. But there's always something to do. Like I said, when we stop in, there's a port in Austria called Linz. We stop in Linz and we can take excursions into, you can do a half day there. But if you don't want to go into Linz, we'll also take you to the Czech Republic. So you could also, you can do Linz or you can do Český Krumlov. Or if you don't want to do either of those, we'll take you over a full day and go into Salzburg. So lots of choices with our excursions, which keeps you busy. Our excursions really depend. We have half-day ones as well as full day. So it depends what you want to do. Again, like I say, sometimes there's 2 or 3 in a day, 2 or 3 ports, for example, in a day. But sometimes, for example, in Vienna, we stay for a full day. So you can go back and forth through the ship if you want to have the meals on the ship, which are included. And then once your ports are done, once you're back on the ship, we always have a cocktail hour. It's a complimentary cocktail hour before your dinner. And we find that people often gather in the lounge because they want to see, oh, what did other people do? What excursions did you go on and what was it like? So there's a lot of camaraderie. People want to talk about what they did and what others are doing. And then, like I said, some people are tired by the end of supper, and you're getting that unlimited beer and wine and then that complimentary cocktail hour beforehand. And so after walking a lot that day, you might be tired and go back to your room or into one of our libraries, but you may very well just come in and take in more culture by the dancers and the singers.
Thank you. You know what? I have to say, I was on the Danube, and my favorite thing was watching the crew do the locks, right?
Oh.
Sitting outside in the evening, having, I thought that was entertainment. Although they don't tell you it's entertainment, but I'm like, geez, they should sell this. This is great. Yeah, like that was just amazing. So different than going through the Panama Canal because it's right there. And so yes, absolutely. And Aaron, we're over to you. So again, I know we all touched on this, but a little bit of what do you think, your times at port, and are you going to be bored on your ships?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, Ian said it perfectly when he said, if you're bored, you're missing something. There's so much to do on the cruise ships, and it really is your vacation. It's your pace. So you set that for yourself. You can choose to be as adventurous as you want, or you can choose just to relax and maybe read a book and get, just some rest. We're so busy right now. There's so much noise coming at us right now that downtime is more valuable than anything. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just sit back, relax, do exactly what you want to do. When you get to the ports of call, I mean, if this is of an interest to you, this is your opportunity to really see the world. Again, I highly recommend that you use a travel advisor that can help you kind of do a little bit of that research to make sure you're picking the right shore excursion in the right port to match your interest. Of course, I recommend as well, always use the shore excursion team that's connected to the cruise line. They know the itinerary, they know the destination, they know the schedule. They're in the best position to get you back to the ship on time, so you don't have to be that person that's running crazily down the pier to get to the ship. Your shore excursion team on board will take care of you. Things that Holland America does that is unique. I'm really proud to acknowledge that just this month alone, Holland America partnered with A&E's History Channel. And so we've teamed up for a first of its kind collaboration that's going to allow you to not just be told about the destination's history, but really to be able to go ashore and experience it in really unique ways. So you'll see that called out on itineraries that are really going to just double click on that kind of history and really give you some really amazing experiences. I'd also be remiss if I didn't call out the fact that you should look at your pre and post cruise time. Often you're going to that destination, hopefully a day or two in advance. Given the way flight schedules change so quickly, it's highly recommended. There again is some valuable time that you could be spending in that first port to really be able to, again, maximize that experience and be able to see things that you might not have been able to see on that regular itinerary.
No, exactly. Thank you, Aaron. So we're going to finish off sort of kind of tie it all together. And anybody who's watching us right now has to, if you've never cruised, you have to realize there is so many options out there. And, you know, we've just touched on the surface a little bit tonight. So when we're talking about cruising and everybody's so different, Aaron, if you had to kind of put it in a quick paragraph, or, you know, what do you call it? The elevator, you know, what would you say is going to make Holland America different? And who do you see, if you like, what is the person who's going to be looking to book that Holland America vacation next?
That's a great question. Holland America, you know, we have a legacy of exploration. We've got that rich history dating all the way back to 1873. So we can provide that classic cruise experience without, again, being overly stuffy. We are experts in a destination like Alaska because we've been cruising there since before it was a state. So again, we can really take this to the next level through either a traditional cruise or a cruise tour, which is going to include the land portion. So we're really that cruise line for people that are looking for enrichment. They're looking for really that amazing experience both on board and ashore. They want those classic cruise ships that are elegant without being stuffy. And they're also looking for amazing culinary experiences. Because of our new Global Fresh Fish program, we can provide seafood that's ethically sourced, regional to the areas that we're sailing to, and we've made a commitment to 48 hours from hook to plate for all of our seafood on board. We've just partnered with Chef Morimoto from Top Chef, who is our fresh fish ambassador. So again, someone that's really looking for that culinary experience. Holland America is a really great option. I also have to mention, of course, our onboard music. Donna, you alluded to it, the Music Walk, the BB King Lounge, the Rolling Stone Lounge, two of my favorite spots. Grab a cocktail, sit and listen to the amazing live music on board. Again, that's something that's really going to set Holland America apart.
Oh, I just love Top Chef. Okay, that's exciting. I don't think I knew that. Jeepers.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much tonight. Thank you, Aaron. Terry, what would you say?
What would I say? Well, I think I've said a lot. It really is about immersion. It is about, I said we're 5-star luxury, but there's no formal wear required. So we really just want everyone to have a better holiday than they even anticipated on the rivers. The owners, they watch everything that's being done, and they are constantly trying to improve on everything that we do. We are known as the innovators in river cruising specifically, but because we put less people on board than some of our friendly competitors in the river segment, it allows you more space. So more space in your stateroom, but more space in the lounge, in the dining room, for example. We are award-winning. We are members of the 2 oldest gastronomy societies out there in Europe, and they rate us not only on our food but on our wine as well as our service. So with AMA Means Love, really, it really is something that we strive for. We do call ourselves a family, and we want to bring the guests into that family as well. We want to anticipate their needs with the cruise manager, whose only job it is to anticipate those needs in advance of what they're looking for. So we're trying to make sure that they're immersed, that they enjoy all of the options that are there for them to choose from, and that there is something for everyone. And we are the trendsetters. That's why we've built the Ama Magna, which is the ship that is double the size of all the river cruise ships on the rivers in Europe. And so that gives you more opportunity for restaurants and more opportunities for entertainment. But we have put a pickleball court on the Ama Magna, for example. So we're always trying to improve on what we can do so that people are seen and doing better things. It's just like when I talked about Colombia. We're the only river cruise line who's on the Magdalena River. We're very excited to start this. We've built the docks and we've built the ships and we're building the excursions. So the owners are down there making this all happen, and it's because they care so much. So it really is, the uniqueness of us is truly the love that comes from the owners and trickles down hopefully to everyone.
Thank you so much, Terry. LaDonna, what makes you unique and stand out? And who do you think is like looking to book their next vacation with Costa?
I think some of the things that make us really unique and stand out are that Italian heritage first and foremost, that immersive experience, whether you're in the Mediterranean or whether you're sailing in the Caribbean and you have this very unique Caribbean environment, going to lesser known ports out of the Dominican Republic and Martinique. You're going to hear multiple languages on board. So it is definitely this this very immersive experience, but there are some things that you can do with us that you can't do with most of the other cruise lines. Like you can embark in multiple embarkation ports. And so for a lot of the companies, you have to go in and out of Civitavecchia, which is the port that's outside Rome. Well, for 2025, it's the Jubilee year, and it's going to be crazy busy in Rome. But for us, you have the opportunity to embark and do it round trip Savona. Maybe you want to do it round trip Marseille. You can do that. You can choose your embarkation port because we're part of the European Union. And so you have the ability to embark and disembark in these other ports. And also you've got the year-round deployment to the Med. So maybe you want to go to Rome, but you don't want to go in the heat of the summer and you don't want to go when it's crazy busy. And so you decide to either take advantage of the better pricing that you get shoulder season, or that there's less tourists during shoulder season or kind of the off season. So you've got a lot of things that really kind of set Costa apart because we are European. It gives you some unique advantages to be able to have a little bit of a different cruise experience with us.
Oh, thank you. I love that. It's, you know what, when I booked people, they were going to go one way and it's like, oh, the flights are better over here. So you know what? That is exactly, and that's why they wanted to go with you. And they said, no, it's just so much more flexible, and they had a great time. So I love it. Thank you so much.
Of
And
course.
Ian, we're coming to the last. We're saving the
Yeah.
last for best.
Yeah, so we've already talked about how expedition differs in the world of cruising overall from ocean and river, but in term just expedition companies against each other, how are we different? Well, first of all, we're the core expedition partner of Expedia. So my bragging aside, there's really three things. It's similar to Holland. It's the heritage. We've been doing this for a really long time, 129 years. There's trust in that. There's experience that comes with that. It's the science and education approach really to what we're doing. Last year, we won the Cruise Critic Choice Award for Best Science Program, where like all the expedition cruise operators, they have a science program, but ours is really, really quite robust. So it's the heritage, it's the science. And also, I don't think I mentioned it, but the third kind of main pillar is the sustainability of it, because we're going to really delicate, really pristine, fragile places, and we need to make sure that we're doing that properly. So our fleet is the most sustainable expedition fleet in the world, and our two of our ships are hybrid battery powered. And so when you're, for example, like you're in Antarctica going down a channel, you've got huge mountains on either side of you, and the ship itself is absolutely silent because you're on battery mode. And so you can hear Antarctica. It's not a dead place. It's not quiet. The ice is cracking. You hear a glacier calving over there. You hear whales over here doing their thing. And so the sustainability is a huge part of it too. And each of those ships, we've got 2 that are hybrid battery powered. They each won the world's most sustainable cruise ship award. And so every cruise ship you can think of in this world, the 2 most sustainable ones are in our fleet. So in terms of who's going to be booking next with us, it's people who want that security of booking with a company that's been doing it for so long. Curious minds, people who want to learn about the destination they're in and really literally physically do hands-on work to understand it in a different way. And people who appreciate that, yes, we're going to these places, but we want to keep it super special through that sustainability aspect.
Thank you so much, Ian. Yes, that's absolutely, especially where you travel to. I would say that's probably one of the biggest things, especially going to Antarctica and
Yeah.
just very, very lots of rules. So thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to everybody, especially our panel. You guys were amazing. This was sort of, I have to say thank you to Erin for bringing me this idea. I thought it was fabulous. Apparently, not everybody did, but I was so excited to do this. And I'm really excited that we will share this multiple times just because you guys did a great job. And it's just so many different options with cruising out there. So I am really excited that we got to do this all together. If there is any questions, you can add it in the chat. Anybody who is listening and watching, there is one actually in the chat right now that I'm going to read. And it's with our Canadian dollar exchange rate. Is it better to contact our travel agent and pay our gratuities in Canadian dollars versus waiting till we are on the ship paying in US? And I'm not sure if anybody has an opinion on that. Myself as an agent, I can say normally we say pay it now. And the reason is because you know what it's going to be now. But that being said, just again, especially if you're traveling where it's going to be in US dollars, the exchange rate, we don't know what it's going to be. But I don't know if Erin or LaDonna might have a different perspective on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
would
think it's
agree.
always better. Oh, go ahead,
No, go
Erin. I'm
ahead. You
sorry.
go ahead, Ladonna. Go ahead.
I think it's always better to consult your travel advisor. I mean, I think that that's what they're there for. And that's a lot of the value that they bring to you. One, they bring you exclusive offers that you can't get anywhere else. Number 2, they bring to you oftentimes amenities that you're not going to get in other places. And number 3, they can advise you on each individual cruise line what is the best option for you. But in general, I would say when you can pay it in advance, it's better to do so.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have said. Any opportunity you have to pay in advance, again, you're paying in Canadian dollars. Plus, when you get on board, it's just nice not to have to worry about anything really, if possible. You can just come on, enjoy the experience, don't get caught up in those additional costs. And like LaDonna said, working with that travel advisor is so incredibly important because they'll help you, like you heard, find those extra amenities that's going to add value, ensure you've chosen the right cruise line, the right time, the right excursions, all of that. So there's huge advantage to working with that Expedia partner.
Thank you both very much. And I don't see any more questions. So I am going to just stop our recording. And